Hello and welcome to another video session. In this video, I'll be looking at complex questions involving parallel lines. In my last video, I discussed some of the properties of parallel lines. So if you don't watch it, go back and watch that so that you know the properties that I'm going to use in answering these questions. So let's assume that this line M, it's parallel to line N, right? So these are two parallel lines. Okay, so let's use the arrow to indicate that. Now I want to find the angle Y. So what will be the angle Y over here? Okay. We've been given X equal to 125. Now, when I look at this line, this is a transversal, all right? And this is also a transversal over here. So I have two transversals. But there's something interesting here. If we look at this portion, we have a right angle. So this is like a triangle right there. Okay, so we have a right triangle. And that means this is 90 degrees here, all right? The symbol is 90 degrees. We can use the information given here, all right, to find this angle. You can find this angle. Because the 120, the angle X, which is 125, and this angle form linear pairs. They are supplementary to each other. That means they add up to 180, right? So to get the angle shaded here, it means I have to subtract 125 from 180 degrees. So let's do that. So 180 minus 125 degrees. So that will give us 60. And that will be 55. So 55 degrees. Okay, that'll be the angle here. So let's write that in. So this will be this will be 55 degrees right there. Okay. So if this is 55 degrees, we are dealing with a right triangle. So if we deal with a right triangle, it means that the angle here will be 90 minus 55. So these two angles add up to 90. Okay. They are complementary angles, right? So I can say that 90 minus 55 will be equal to, that is 5, and then that would be 35. So it means this angle here is 35 degrees. Okay. If I know that is 35 degrees, I know the angle Y and this angle form complementary angles. So these two form complementary, they form supplementary angles. They're supplementary. That means they add up to 180. They are linear pairs. You know, that's a relationship, linear pairs. So to get Y will be equal to 180 degrees minus 35 degrees. And then, so that will give us, that is 5. And we have 144 degrees as Y. So that's the answer, to 145 degrees, because the two angles add up to 180. So that's the idea for answering a question like this. Let's look at another question. So that's another complex one. But we can break it down into manageable parts. So it says in the figure above, line A is parallel to line B. So let's annotate that. Line A, so this is parallel to line B. There are two parallel lines, okay? And then we also been told that line D is parallel to line E. So line D, so this is parallel to line E, okay? What's the value of Y in degrees? We want to find the value of Y here in degrees. So this also packed with a lot of information. So let's see if we can break this down into pieces. Now, if I look at this, since line D is parallel to line E, right? Parallel to line E. Then line B, it's the transversal of D and E, right? So this is going to find a transversal. It's like transversal here. It's crossing these two parallel lines, okay? So what does that mean? It means that we have interior angles. The angles in between these two lines are interior angles. That means that angle 5x here, the 2x plus that, the angle that will be here, or the angle here, and angle here, angle there. Those are the interior angles to this, okay? Which property can we use here? I know that if I take the interior, these two interior angles on the same side of the transversal, right? So we've got the same side interior angles, right? Same side interior angles are supplementary. They add up to 180 degrees. So that's another property that we have to think about. Same side interior angles are supplementary. That means add up to 180. Same side, right? So 5x and this angle, if you add up to 180 degrees, because they are same side interior angles. So 5x plus 2x plus 5 should be equal to 180 degrees. Okay, so this is another property that you should add to what we did in the other video. So if I add this up, I have 7x plus 5 is equal to 180. 7x will be equal to 180 minus 5. So I have 7x to be equal to 175. Okay. So if we divide this by 7, that means that our x will be equal to 7 into 17, that is 2, we have 35, that would be, so 5, so 25 degrees. X is 25 degrees. So if x is 25 degrees, our aim is to find y, right? So let's find y. If you look at the diagram one more time, let's go back to the diagram. X, this will be 25 here. Okay. And then 5 times 25, that will be this angle. So 5 times 25, that will give us 125. So it means this angle is 125 degrees, right? So we have a triangle. If we consider this portion, we have a triangle. This is 25. This is 125 degrees. So what will be this? We say this has been given us 2y. If you have a triangle, what do we know about the triangle? The sum of all the angles in the triangle add up to 180 degrees, right? Add up to, so in other words, what we have here, if we add all these angles, we should get 120, so 180 degrees. So 25 plus 125 plus your 2y should be equal to 180 degrees. 25 plus 125 will give us 150. So 150 plus 2y is equal to 180 degrees. 2y is equal to 180 minus 150. 2y is equal to 30. Divided by 2, divided by 2. So y is equal to 15. So the answer that you want is 15 degrees. So that'll be the value of y. All right, that's your answer. Check. Okay. So I hope you find this very interesting. Okay, you're applying the properties of parallel lines using triangles, you know, the sum of the angles of a triangle, you know, adding up to 180. And then we also saw the first question where you have right angle triangle. Okay, so let's try another question here. These are very interesting questions. It says 2 straight lines intersect to form the angles above. If the measure of angle X is 3 times the measure of angle Y, what's the measure of angle, the angle Z, right? So let's put in the information. Always annotate your diagrams. Angle X is 3 times angle Y. So you can say that X is equal to 3 times Y. Okay, let's put that in the diagram. So this is, in place of X, I can say that this is going to be 3y over here. Okay, now we can find the value of y. How? We know that these two angles, X and Y, they form supplementary, they form linear pairs, and linear pairs are supplementary, right? That means they add up to 180. So I can say that 3y, since the X is equal to 3y, okay, I can say that 3y plus the y is equal to 180 degrees, okay? Okay. Because we know that X is equal to 3y. And if you have these two, X plus Y is equal to 180. So that is what you're trying to use. Okay. So 3y plus Y is equal to 180 degrees. That means substituting this in place of the X. Okay. Or you can just see that from the diagram here. If you put a diagram. So we have 4y is equal to 180 degrees. So y is equal to 180 divided by 4, which gives us 4 into 180, which is 4. And then 20, that'll be 5. So you have 45 degrees. So y is 45 degrees, right? If I know y, right, y, that means that the x is equal to 3 times 45 equals 3y. So the x will give us 3 times 5 is 15. 1 left, 3 times 12. 3 times 4 is 12 plus 1. So it's 135 degrees. So x is 135 degrees. So let's put that here. So this is 135 degrees, the angle here. All right. Now, what do we know about x and y? If you two lines intersecting, so the opposite angles here, these are vertical angles. So z is going to be vertical angle to x, right? So it means that the value of z will be equal to the same as 135 degrees, since vertical angles are congruent. So those are vertical angles, okay, compared to the x. So that'll be your answer. All right. So a very interesting question. Now let's try another problem here. We want to find all the missing angles, x, y, and then w. Now, so let's see the approach we can use in this question. If we look at this question, I can say that angle y, since we have parallel lines, like let's annotate the parallel lines first. Now, B is parallel to D, as you can see in the diagram, right? This is parallel to that. So it means that EF is a transversal. It's going to be a transversal, the EF, transversal. Okay. So if it's a transversal, then we can say that Y is congruent to X minus 5, right? Because this will be corresponding angles, they correspond to each other. So corresponding angles are congruent. So we can say that Y is equal to X minus 5, right? X minus 5. Okay. Then if we come over here, so let's call this equation 1. All right. So if we come back to our diagram, y and the angle y and angle 3x minus 5, they lie on a straight line. So they are supplementary to each other. They add up to 180 degrees. So we can write an equation for that. So in other words, y plus 3x minus 15 should be equal to 180 degrees. So let's call that equation 2. Okay. We can solve for x if we substitute y into the y into the equation 1 to equation 2. So let's do that. So wherever I have x, wherever I have y, I'm going to put in x minus 5, right? I'm going to substitute this here. So I'm going to write this in terms of x. So x minus 5 plus 3x minus 15 is equal to 180 degrees. Combine like terms, x plus 3x will be 4x. Negative 5 minus 15 will be negative 20. It's equal to 180 degrees. All right. So 4x will be equal to 180 plus 20. If you move the negative 20 to the opposite side of the equal sign, it becomes plus. So 180 plus 20, that's 200. Okay, so it means that my x will be equal to 200 divided by 4, which is 50 degrees. So x is 50 degrees. If x is 50 degrees, what will be this angle? This angle here will be 3 times, so this angle will be 3 times x. X is 50 minus 5. So 50, that's 150 minus 5, and then that gives us 145, all right? So the angle here is 145 degrees. You can just write 145 degrees here. Get rid of this and write 145 degrees as the angle here. Okay, so this 145 degrees, what would be y? It means that angle y is 55, or we know that y is equal to x minus 5. So if I plug in 50 minus 5 here, so this is 45 degrees. So that'll be the angle here, 45 degrees. Okay. So this 45 degrees, it means that y is going to be 45 degrees as well. Okay. Compare this angle to w. What will be the relationship? These two lines intersect right there. So because they're intersecting, these form vertical angles. So this angle and that angle, w, are vertical. So if this is 45, w should also be 45, since vertical angles are congruent. So we have our w to equal to 45 degrees. Okay, that's our answer for w. All right, so y is also 45, as we've said. Okay. All right, it's another, let's move on to another problem. So in a given figure, P is parallel to Q and L is a transversal. Find the values of X and Y. We want to find X and Y in this question. Okay, so we need to think through this problem. We have parallel lines, so Q, P, these are parallel lines here. Okay, and L is a transversal. That means that we can compare these angles here. This corresponds to that angle. Okay, that's what we know. Corresponding angles. Okay, so they're corresponding means that those two angles will have to be complementary. No, they have to be they're congruent to each other, right? Congruent. So we can write this as 6x plus y is equal to x plus 5y. They're the same. Now let's solve for x, get x by itself in this particular question. So let's see. I'll move all the x to one side. So I have 6x minus x will be equal to 5y minus y. So I have 5x is equal to 4y. So it means that x should be equal to 4 over 5y. Okay. So let's keep this like this for now. Okay. Then I can apply the linear pair property here. If I consider 4x and then the angle 6x plus y, they lie on a straight line, right? Because they lie on a straight line, they form linear pairs. And linear pairs are supplementary. In other words, they add up to 180 degrees. So I can write an equation based on that. I can say that 4x plus 6x plus y is equal to 180 degrees since they are linear pairs, supplementary. Okay. But I know that the x is the same as 4 over 5y, all right? So I can write that here. Four times 4/5y plus 6 times 4/5y plus y is equal to 180 degrees. I could have made my life easier by just solving for y here and replacing that here. That I think that would have been the easiest approach. Okay. So maybe let's just do that. Let's do it that way. So instead of solving for x, let's get y by itself. So I'll say that here, divide by 4, divide by 4. So that I'll have y is equal to 5/4x, right? And then substitute that in this. So 4x plus the 6x plus 5/4x should be equal to 180 degrees. Okay. So if I combine this, I have 10x plus 5/4x is equal to 180 degrees. Okay. Now to get x by itself, I can multiply through by 4 to get rid of fractions. So I multiply through by 4, and 4 times 10, so that'll be 40x plus 5/4x times 4. So that'll give us 5x is equal to 180 times 4. So you multiply each term by 4. So that give us that's 4 times that is 0, 32, and then that'll be 72, 720. Okay, so what I did was to multiply each term by 4. 4 times all this, and then 4 times whatever to the left side of the equation, raise into the right side. Okay, so 45x is equal to 720. Divide by 45, divide by 45. So x will be equal to 720. Let's check that and see what we get here. 720 divided by 45. So that gives me 16. 16. So it means that x, the value of x is 16. Okay. If I know x, I can easily find y. I just have to go back and substitute. Go back and substitute here. So I've substituted it in this equation, then the y will be equal to 5/4 times 16, and that will give me 16. 4 into 16, that's 4 times 5, so that'll be 20. So y is 20. So I have x 16 and y is 20. So that's a beautiful question. All right, so let's try one more here, the last one. All right. So in this question, line M is parallel to line L. Okay, that's information that we're putting in here. They are parallel to each other. T is a transversal in this question. Okay, transversal. So this is a transversal. That means these two angles here are within the parallel lines. That means that they are interior angles and they are on the same side. So same side interior angles are supplementary. So that's information. Same side interior angles are supplementary. In other words, they add up to 180 degrees, okay? So we put this together, I have 7x plus 14 plus 4x minus 2 should be equal to 180 degrees. Combine the like terms, you have 21x plus 14 minus 2, that's 12, is equal to 180 degrees. 21x is equal to 180 minus 12. So we end up with, that will be 0 minus 2, that is 8. 9, it's 8 here, so 7 minus 1, that will be 6. So we have 168. Okay, divide by 21, divide by 21. So x will be equal to, this is going to be 8 times, right? 8. So x is 8. So once you know your x, what do? You can go back and substitute to find the measure of the angles, right? If the question says find the measure of the angles, then you go back and substitute into each of these, okay? So let's just extend this further. So it means that the first angle, let's call this angle 1. Will be equal to, will be equal to 17 times 8 plus 14. Okay, then I'll get the answer. Then angle 2, this angle 2, substitute 4 times 8. Substitute 8 for the x, then minus 2, and I'll get the answer. So 17 times 8 will give us 17 times 8, that is 136. 136 minus, sorry, plus 14. So that's 150. 150 degrees. Okay. And then here 4 times 8 is 32. 32 minus 2. So that'll be 30 degrees. All right. So check and see. So this is 150 here. And then this one angle is 30. Are they supplementary to each other? Yes, they are. So it means the answers are correct. So that's the end of this video for some problems, challenging problems on parallel lines. See you next time. Bye-bye.